They never mention this at vet school.
Having now retired as a veterinarian, it is time to reimagine the long-running vet podcast. Let's drop the clinical stuff and talk about the things that were never mentioned at vet school. Times change, treatments change, and medications change. If you have been in an industry for a long time, at the start of your career, you mix with colleagues who are at the end of theirs. So by the end of your career, you have a direct line to methods and treatments that are perhaps 80 years old. Some of them have passed the test of time. Some of them, perhaps not. My old practice was started in the late 1950s. In the 80s, one of the clinics had a major revamp. This meant 35 years worth of veterinary gear needed to be packed up. Some of it was dumped, some of it was reused. We were getting towards the end of the clean-up and only had a few nooks and crannies left. At the back of a cupboard, there were 2, maybe 50-gram containers of a white powder with no label. Casually asking one of the old original vets what the powder was, I got a response that threw me for a while. "Ah, that's my cocaine." Honestly, where do you look? What do you say? Being a young vet in the presence of an experienced, respected vet, I said nothing. I mean, it was not my place to question life choices. The old vet must have seen my sideways look. No, he said, "it's not for personal use." I used it as a local anaesthetic on the tongue of cats with snuffles ulcers to help get them eating again. I haven't used it for years. I'd actually forgotten that it was there. So, a bit of background here. Calicivirus is one of the viruses that causes snuffles or upper respiratory tract disease in cats, and as well as a snotty nose, it can cause really nasty, painful tongue ulcers, which often will stop the cat from eating. Cocaine is actually a powerful local anaesthetic. I may be wrong, but I believe that it may have been used in humans for the same reason. So, obviously, there were a few drawbacks with this use. The huge potential for human abuse would have to be a standout, as is a legal supply. I may be a bit naive here, but who do you contact to get a monthly supply of coke? But mostly it was superseded with modern, more effective drugs. So, my next issue. What do you do with 100 grams of cocaine? Putting it out in the refuse wasn't really an option, nor was flushing it down the toilet. I didn't want the fish swimming sideways further down the system. The only thing that I could think of was to drop it off at the local police station. I had a very interesting conversation with the officer at the front counter of the local police station. After a bit of explaining and a heap of paperwork, he sort of believed me and disappeared out the back with it. I do wonder what is written on my police record, though.
All right.
Cocaine wasn't the only surprising medication we inherited from our old school experienced colleagues, though. There have always been folk remedies for ailing livestock. A long-standing tonic for poorly ruminants, that is cows, sheep and goats, has been beer, especially dark stouts. The thought behind this was the yeast, B vitamins, carbohydrates and mild fermentation byproducts would perk up a sluggish rumen. To be fair, I have seen no research to back this, although I haven't looked that hard. There have always been patent stock tonics available, mostly with no ingredients mentioned and with dubious claims.
Dominion Cattle Drench, the best remedy ever offered to the New Zealand farmer and dairyman. This excellent remedy immediately relieves all inflammatory and feverish disorders such as colds, chills, influenza, costiveness, loss of cud, hidebound, etc., and is invaluable for cows at calving time. It secures perfect cleansing and freedom from milk fever and brings the cow into full milk at once.
There were so many of these pay your money and take your chance medications available back in the day. One product I'm a little more familiar with in my early days of dairy vetting was a drench simply called Stimulant Drench. I think it was a registered product, but my old colleagues swore by it. The ingredients were simple, if not, to our modern perspective, a bit surprising. Obviously water, from memory, some iron salts, sodium chloride, and a stimulant which health food people still use today, ginger. There were two related and surprising ingredients though, strychnine and Nux vomica extract. Nux vomica is a crude plant source of strychnine. Most of us have heard of strychnine, but it is usually associated with early movies and murder plots. Yes, it is a poison, but apparently at subtoxic doses, it was thought to stimulate gut motility and general tone, and hence used as a kettle pick-me-up, often with a bottle of beer thrown in for good measure. Did it work? Look, a lot of these older remedies and old wives' tales, especially if they were around for a while, may well have had some efficacy, otherwise people would not have continued to use them. Fortunately, with modern veterinary science, we now have science-based treatments with the reassurance of heaps of research behind them. I'm going to leave the final word to an old veterinarian that I interviewed a number of years ago called Jim White. The name Jim White mightn't mean much to you. Jim White had a father who was also a veterinarian called Arthur White. Arthur White was an author and wrote under the nom de plume of none other than James Herriot. And this is the little gem that Jim left me with.
I remember he used to tell me that with horses with colic, they used to stuff raw onions up the rectum of horses with colic, this sort of thing. My dad used to like these cases because he used to take the onions out. He used to cure them by taking the onions out.
They never mentioned this at vet school. I'm Brian Greger from the Vet Podcast. If you got something out of this episode, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you would like to contribute or comment, we would love to hear from you.